Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Product Show. Today on the show we have Raluca Bujoreanu, Principal Product Manager at Zalando and Instructor at Product School. She shared with us her favorite methods for evaluating if a feature is worth building, how to grow as a product manager alongside the product, and how the role of the product manager changes depending on the size and maturity of the company. We also discussed the differences between product management at startups and established companies, how to manage internal tensions, and her favorite books that helped her grow in her career. Enjoy this episode and don't forget to subscribe to our channels wherever you're watching or listening.
Welcome to The Product Show. Insightful interviews with founders and tech leaders sharing how they hack product growth.
Hi Raluca, welcome to The Product Show.
Hi Desi, and hello everyone. Really happy to be here.
It's a pleasure to have this conversation with you. And before we dive deeper into the questions, tell me a little bit more about yourself, your background, and what does your role as a principal product manager at Zalando entail?
As you mentioned, I'm a principal product manager at Zalando. And for the ones that are not familiar with Zalando, it's one of the largest fashion e-commerce company in Europe, and we're present in around 16 countries. And I joined Zalando almost 6 years ago. I started in a marketing role as an on-site manager for France. And soon after, I actually took the decision and also the opportunity to transition into product management. And then over the years, I grew into several roles. My background is in marketing. I have a master's in marketing management, and prior to Zalando, I was having different roles in growth marketing or strategic marketing, automation and personalization. But then when I joined Zalando, and after being the on-site manager for France, I actually realized that what I wanted, or that my experience and also my aspirations are more in the direction of product, and I liked very much the idea of having more ownership and impact on solving customer problems. And this is why I actually transitioned. And I'm very happy about this decision. I know that many of the ones that are listening are also interested in transitioning or moving into product roles.
Right. So while we're on this, what do you think is the perfect background for someone who wants to transition to product management? And is there actually a perfect set of skills to be a product manager?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that there is no, let's say, perfect recipe to transition, but in general, and here I would mostly talk about product managers that are generalists, because there are also, like, for example, data product managers or very technical product managers. But for the ones that are more generalists, let's say that there are three, let's say, types of backgrounds that are very common. And also, I would say that after you transition, you would basically need to have a mixture of those knowledges. So the three ones would be business and marketing. Then it would be design. And then it would be engineering and tech. And I would say that most of the product managers that I know are coming from one of these three roles. And when I say that it's basically a mixture of knowledge, it doesn't mean that you actually have to be an expert in business and marketing and design or engineering. But you need to have the right level of knowledge to, first of all, ask the right questions and to collaborate with the experts, for example, and the engineers, the designers, the data analysts, in order to actually drive results for your product.
How much do you think does the domain expertise play a role here? For example, if I apply for a product manager role at a crypto startup, ideally I should come from a fintech or blockchain background. Or if it's a very technical product, experience with engineering or data science would definitely help. So so do you think this is crucial, and how much of these skills could be learned on the go for a product manager?
Yeah, I think that you definitely. So let's say if you are a generalist, you let's say don't need these let's say very deep expertise. But for sure, if you are working in a more specialized way, I think that first, yes, you need to have this background, or you need to get yourself up to speed. To gain this knowledge and to also have an expertise there, because in the end you will drive a product, so you will lead the experience in that direction. But then second, I think, let's say, to be a successful product manager, it's a mix of, let's say, these I would call them more technical skills, so business, design, engineering, then the specific area of knowledge for your product, or market knowledge, which is also very important. But at the same time, there are also a couple of maybe traits to be a good product manager. So I would say that a good product manager should have empathy. So empathy with your customers to understand their problems, but also maybe empathy with your team and with the stakeholders to really understand like the landscape of your organization and different requests that different stakeholders might have, and what are their problems or business problems. Then I would say definitely curiosity. So as a product manager, you also need to improve all the time, not only like your level of knowledge and the skills, but also it's a continuous improvement of the experience. And I would say effective communication is like a key trait of a product manager, because you will need to discuss with many stakeholders. You would need to lead the team, and usually for product managers is leading by influence. So this is why communication is very important. So I would say that yes, the technical skills and the knowledge in the different domains is very important. But for a product manager, it's very important to have also a couple of other, let's say, soft skills to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. The people skills are so crucial. I guess the other thing, and one of the first things you have to master as a product manager is prioritization. And how do you prioritize like the abundance of product improvement opportunities you have in front of you? And I believe you would know better than anyone that very often you would get ideas from anybody at the company about features and solutions that you could potentially explore. And sometimes these solutions are not actually a solution. They don't solve a problem. They're nice to haves. So do you have any kind of specific approach? How do you handle this? First, how do you prioritize product improvement opportunities? But also, how do you manage the people side of the process, making sure that everyone is happy and people don't feel like they're not hurt or they don't get upset?
Yeah. This is let's say a very, very common aspect, or let's say challenge for product managers, because you get like ideas from literally everywhere. And right now, I would say that I'm quite lucky in the in the last months or year, and I'm more on the direction of creating the strategy. But still, there are many ideas coming up. And so first of all, as a product manager, I would say that it's very important to acknowledge that this is very, very natural and this is very normal. And it's also from the stakeholders or your team side is normal to think in ideas and solutions. So that is totally fine. But as a product manager, maybe before you actually, start prioritizing or start moving into execution, I think the important thing is to actually understand the intent behind the solution. So what is your stakeholder or your team member trying to solve? Why did they come up with the solution, and what are they hoping to achieve? And when you're actually going to get those answers, it will actually help you as a product manager to frame the problem better. So maybe to be more specific, let's take an example that one of the stakeholders is coming one day with an idea. Hey, I would like to do, or I think that it would be very beneficial for us to start doing more cross-selling in the checkout. And of course, he can say, maybe we can think of some recommendation engine in the checkout, which of course sounds very good. Many companies are doing that, but let's say before you actually look into how can I actually build this engine, etc., you could ask, okay, so what do you actually want to achieve, or what is it happening? So maybe they would say, well, I thought that I realized that we are not selling from certain categories so much, and this is why I think that this can be a good idea, or I don't know, we're not meeting our revenue and we need something in addition. And then most probably in that moment, you can go to, let's say, the problem or the customer side, and to understand why are customers not actually purchasing from a broad range of categories. And you might discover that maybe, for example, they don't have easy access to those categories. They don't find those products, or they're actually looking at the product pages, and maybe the images are not attractive, or the description is not clear enough. And once you start like digging deep into what are the actual problems, you might realize that the right solution to solve the problem could be, let's take an example, just to improve the description of the products, right? So in that sense, the solution is very different from what your stakeholder has asked. So I think that this is one major step that you have to do, and I think that is very important to, because you mentioned the people side, is very important to have a discussion with the stakeholder to let them know that you're actually wanting to understand what is the problem, and you also have to ask what is success looking like for them. So what's the metrics that they are also hoping to improve. And afterwards, once you start working on the solutions or on the ideas, I think it's very important to keep them in the loop, and to keep them updated, because in moments when, for example, you have delays, or when you're actually taking a different path, they will be more on your side. And to go back to the prioritization part that you asked, I think that in general for prioritizing solution ideas, there are many frameworks out there. So if we even like do a simple search on the internet, I think that there are around 10 that I know, like looking about the complexity, looking at how much data do you actually have. So the simplest one is, of course, the impact effort. This is very, very simple. But I would say that I have two others that I really like. One is actually called the RICE method. It comes as an abbreviation from reach. So how many customers will see that particular that particular solution. What impact do you expect to have? What confidence do you have? And what is the estimated effort? I think that this is ideal when you actually have that data, or when you're working on an existing product. So in that sense, you have multiple dimensions that you can use to prioritize your ideas. But another one which I find very helpful, it's called the Kanne model. So that one is basically looking at, so it's classifying the ideas on whether it's a basic expectation from the customer perspective, whether it's a good like a good feature or meets the problems in a good way. These are basically the features that will mostly drive performance and will help the business to be competitive. And the other dimension would be the delighters. So these are features that or at least you hope that will definitely delight the customer. So why I'm mentioning that this framework, you can either have it in your head when you're thinking about the different solutions. And of course, the basic ones, the basic ideas or solutions that you didn't implement in your product, most probably they're like a must-have to do. So you should do them as fast as possible. But then in regards to the ones that are driving performance, or the delighters one, I think it's mostly up to you what type of let's say game you want to play. Whether you want to go for these big bets, which might create a very strong connection or emotional connection for your customers with your product, or whether you want to go with these ones which are very good, which are like competitive features, and it's more in the direction of the metrics or the business that you want to drive. So let's say that these are the ones that I really like and I really recommend.
Excellent. I mean, there is no doubt that we always should base our decision on the insights we have from the customer. But very often what the customer says they need, it's very different from what they really need or from what the potential solution is. And then it gets even more complicated when we add the business needs to the mix. Okay, we can build that for you, but is this going to drive business growth, right? Mm-hmm. So do you have favorite methods or framework for continuously uncovering user problems before they become pressing issues for the product?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I do. One thing that I would I really liked from what you said is that what customers actually need and what they say they need is very different. And I think that as product managers, we have to be very careful about that, because so first of all, we should, whenever we're doing user research, we should phrase the questions in a way that we actually understand what problems are the customers wanting to solve. Because in general, if we ask them about what solution do they expect, they will mostly, so customers tend to mostly share solutions that they saw in other companies or that they think might work. And this doesn't really drive innovation, and it might be just very limiting for product managers. So very important is with the questions that you have in your user research is to go deep into what is the actual problem, what needs did they not meet, and maybe how are they right now meeting those needs, if not by using your product, or what other alternatives do they have. And regarding the continuous discovery, I think it's what I usually do is to combine quantitative methods with qualitative methods, because the quantitative is showing you whether there is a gap, whether there's a problem. So I usually start with looking at quantitative data. So that, for example, would be different dashboards, or funnel analysis, or product usage dashboards. NPS survey is also very important. And afterwards, like after you basically identify what could be those areas, or where customers really have common problems, then it's very good to start looking into different qualitative methods. So, for example, to run a user research to better understand what are the customer problems, what are they actually trying to achieve. Also, I think it's very important to regularly monitor user feedback. So, for example, app store reviews, or customer care reports, or maybe product ratings, if you have this feature implemented. And also very important is if, for example, you are working in a B2B, in a B2B domain, it's very important to talk very frequently to your partners, to your company customers, to actually really understand what are their needs. So I think that these are the ones that I would start with, and then once I have the why. So why are these problems happening? Then I think it's very important to start testing different ideas, and then to analyze, to measure. So basically, to measure what you have implemented, and to basically incorporate these learnings in a continuous way. So it's basically a process that is never ending, I would say.
Yeah, if it's ending, I guess the product is dying. So
Yeah, indeed,
it better never.
it's true. That's true. Yeah.
Right. How do you make sure that the projects you work on are aligned with the wider business objectives? And I believe this is a challenge for large organizations like Zalando. Maybe one of the advantages a small startup would have is like you're very clear what is your North Star metric, or there are a couple, three, maybe growth metrics that the whole team is working towards. But in a large organization, I guess the value of our work could get a little bit lost in different sorts of projects. So how do you make sure that the projects you're working on are aligned with the wider business objectives?
Yeah, so I would say that also in large organizations, at least at Zalando, we also follow the same path. So ideally, what you can start with what is the business, what is the vision. So first of all, what is the vision? What's the purpose of the company? What's the experience that they're looking for? Maybe in around 5 years. For startups, of course, it's a bit more complicated for 5 years, but in general, right? What's their vision? What's their mission? and then what is the strategic intent? And usually in large organizations, you have maybe some direction for the following year or for the following, I don't know, 1 to 3 years, let's say. So for example, I'm just going to give you some examples. So we want to expand into a new market, or we want to double the revenue for individual users. We want to attract more partners. So once you know what are the business goals, I think that this is when product is coming into place. And ideally, you can also create a strategy, a product strategy for, let's say, maybe the next year. If this may, for example, in startups, is a bit more complicated to think so long term, but at least I think that you should have maybe like a vision for, okay, what are the biggest areas that I would like to look into in the next years. And then some companies use, for example, OKRs, or they set up some goals. This is also important, because then when you know what is actually your goal as a product manager, you can start like digging into, okay, so what are the actual customer problems that I have in that area? Or let's say, like, why is this metric lower than expected, or how can we actually get to meet that goal? And then you start talking to customers and understanding the problems, and then coming up with different solutions that would actually or you hope that would meet the goal. So I would say that first you have to like look into what is the business, what's the business strategy and the vision, and then coming to the product strategy, and then looking into, okay, what are the goals and objectives, and what are the different product features that you can work on. This would be, let's say, a framework that I would apply.
Excellent. From my experience working with early stage companies, early stage startups with founders and product teams, it's interesting that they're usually very passionate about the product and they want to deliver and the features they want to build. But very often they don't know their customer or target customer well enough. I mean, they might have some data, they might have a set of assumptions, but they don't have enough actionable insights. So what is the first thing you would do to understand the customer better and the opportunities on the market if you are joining a young startup now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, as you said, it's very very common, but it's also very natural, because when you are in an early stage, you are actually looking to find the product market fit. So you kind of have to like really. I think that there are two things that you need to aim for at the very beginning. So one is to clearly define who is your customer, because you cannot serve everybody. So you need to identify who are the customer groups that you are looking at, and then really understand, like, for example, what are their demographics, what's their background, what do they like, what are their pains, what are they trying to achieve. Usually, let's say it's a common tool to build your user persona. This actually helps. So within the user persona, you're basically also giving a name to that target customer. You're giving a face. So as a team, it's much easier to empathize with your customers. But I think that the most important thing that you need to do in an early stage is to actually talk to as many of these potential customers as you can. So on one hand, I think that having just customer interviews to understand what are their problems, what services do they use or products do they use in order to solve their problems, maybe what are their expectations. So that would be one, but then on the other hand, you also need, at least at the very beginning, because you said you don't have so much, I think that you need to aim to have as much data as possible. So you need to find some ways to actually either send surveys or just talk to as many customers as possible in order to get those insights. And once you actually understand or have, let's say, a good or at least a decent understanding of the customer problems, I think it's very important to start your prototype and as fast as possible, and to get feedback on your prototype and on your ideas as fast as possible, and usually even before moving into implementation. So right now there are so many tools to actually create a very, very simple prototype that you can show to your customers and understand what do they think about your ideas. So I think that this is a very good way to go about it. And then, of course, like taking the customer insights, refining your prototype, or if you see good feedback, then of course to actually build the solution, and then to continuously keep talking to customers, because it's only in that way that you can actually get to product market fit.
I think what happens with many early stage startups is that they're scared to niche down from the beginning because they don't want to miss business. They want to discover their product market fit. But there is also the other risk. If you're serving everyone, you're serving no one. So there is definitely a benefit of specializing early on. And I guess this goes back to the point, if you have the right people around you to support you during this very stressful period. Do you think that there is a sort of perfect profile of a head of product for an early stage startup? And also, how does the role of the product manager changes depending on the size and maturity of the company?
Yeah, that's right. And I would say that the goals and the responsibilities of a product manager in a startup or in an early stage organization differs so much from a mature organization. And also, you basically need, as you say, different profiles, or if, for example, a product manager is successful in one of those types of companies, and many times it doesn't mean that he or she will be successful in in another type of company. So for let's say for startups or for early stage companies, I would say that let's say your objective is to get to product market fit, and what you need to do is to rapidly adapt by using insights from customers and from the market, right? And to also define the product value proposition. And I think that the most important part is to validate the product desirability, and also to the viability, whether your ideas are actually going to generate revenue and be sustainable, and to basically generate traction. So in this type of environment, I think that you basically need a person that is, first of all, at the same time visionary and strategic, but that always like goes between this airplane view to a microscope view, so from vision to detail. And most probably in a startup you might need to do, let's say, this several times a day. So from the big picture to the small details. And also in a startup you need to be comfortable wearing lots of hats, right? So you need to look at wear the customer hat, the business hat, designer hat, sometimes even engineering hat, and you need to be able to deal with ambiguity, because like every day might bring new insights. You might need to rapidly adapt, and to find different ways to solve the problem. And I think that is very important to know, or to be able to de-risk the different ideas, because as at the very beginning we have so many, and you don't really know what are the successful ones. So of course, usually you cannot implement everything, but you can, or you should be able to easily juggle different experimentation ways, understanding the customer, and basically, just de-risking all the hypotheses. And I think that from a soft skills perspective, is very important to be a good communicator. I think that in startups or in early stage companies, it's very interesting that usually there was a first product person, or there still is, and usually that one is also the founder. So usually the founders, let's say, are the first, let's say, product managers. So when they actually decide to hire also another product manager, it's very important for this new person to stay very closely with them, to basically understand their vision, and to just bounce ideas, and also to gain trust. To be able to gain trust of the founders, also maybe of different investors, but also to be able to build the team, and to talk to the different roles that are in the startup. So the engineers, if there are designers, and it's very important to be able to collaborate very closely. And then further on, let's say, assuming that the startup is successful, to be able to grow the team of product managers, and to have this ability to develop the talent, and sometimes to delegate different tasks. It's also sometimes a bit challenging, especially in a startup.
So which one do you think is the right environment for a product manager to start learning? It does sound like it would be very stressful at a startup. Is it the large organization the better option?
I think it's,
isn't it?
exactly. There is no right or wrong answer. I think that in a emerging organization or in an enterprise, the processes are better defined, and as I said, so for the emerging organization, your goal as a product manager would be to basically, I don't know, continuously test, continuously come up with ideas to grow and scale. And then for the enterprise, I think it's a bit different. Sometimes you have to look at how can you drive innovation, how can you maintain your focus, how can you just keep your customer centric mindset. I think on one hand, it's also depending on on the personality of the individual. So definitely in a large organization, the processes are better in place. You will also have multiple product manager colleagues. Most probably there's also a clear hierarchy. You will be able to learn from your colleagues, from other people's mistakes. This is also very important, but also from their successes. You might be able to let's say have a bit more time to understand the methods, to apply them, take it, let's say, on your own pace. While in a startup organization, everything is changing rapidly, and you actually need to wear different hats. Maybe sometime you might feel that you are not really doing product management work, but you're maybe doing something else. And this way is a great way to gain a lot of knowledge fast. But I would say by learning from your own mistakes, because it's rarely that the startup has many product managers. And as well, I think that it's very important. So in order to succeed, it's very important in a startup to have very good communication skills. Because if you're joining and there are not many or no other product manager in the organization, you might also have the role of actually defining what is the role of product management in that organization looking like. And it might be that if you're at the very, very beginning of your career, this can be overwhelming, but it's also a huge opportunity of learning. So if you will succeed in doing that, and also in finding product market fit, then it's definitely let's say a faster way of learning, of growing, but it brings a bit more risk. So it's also what type of person are you and how much risk do you want to take?
So it's not so much about the size of the company, but more about if it's the right environment to let you experiment, break things, and learn on the way. From other interviews that I've watched of you, I know you're a huge fan of all sorts of different product management books. So give us your favorite titles.
Yeah, so indeed, I love reading books. I would say one that I think is super important for product managers is it's called Build Better Products by Laura Klein. I think that each product manager should read that one. It literally explains so well every step of the product development process, and it's very practical. And it literally shows how you should approach and what questions you should ask, and how to collaborate with the team. What insights do you need from your customers? I really love that book. Another one is the Escape the Build Trap by Melissa Perry. This one actually shows or gives an overview on how to create an efficient product organization, might teach you how to talk to stakeholders, can you approach your vision, your roadmap, which are very important for a product manager. I would say for the ones that are in startups, I would really recommend the testing business ideas from Strategizer. It will definitely teach you how to write good hypotheses, and what methods can you use to actually test fast and build your prototype fast and gain learnings. And another one that I like and I recommend is this is service design doing. This is mostly on design methodologies and innovation. But as I said before, it's very important for the product manager to actually have skills in design, or at least knowledge of different frameworks or methodologies. And this one will definitely teach you different ways to run user interviews, to build your persona, to build your prototype, to run maybe design sprints or different workshops on how to actually come up with solutions. I really like that one. It's also very practical.
Excellent.
And maybe another one and last one. It's
Keep
called,
them coming.
Yeah, it's called Product Leadership. It's written by Richard Banfield, Martin Erickson, and Nate. I think it's called Walk-in Show. I hope I'm not mistaking the name. It gives a very good perspective of the role of a PM. How did it evolve? And what's the role of a product leader exactly in different organizations? So in a startup, in an emerging organization, in a mature organization, what should you do to be successful? I think it's a really, really valuable book to actually navigate your way, no matter the type of company you're in.
Excellent. Great. Thanks so much. We are a design studio, so we are kind of always looking for the UX tweaks and the product improvements that would have like massive impact. So, can you share from your experience, have you ever done a small UX tweak or a product improvement that had a disproportionately high impact on the product, considering the effort it required, small tweak that turned into a big win?
I think that there were many, and this actually shows how important UX is, and just to make the product or the experience very easy to use, and also not make or not let customers think too much of the actions that they do. I have like different examples, and they vary actually from. I remember that a couple of years ago we did a test, like the basic test of a button color. I think that this is the basic one that usually is mentioned. But why I want to say it is that it made such a big difference. I remember it was from exactly, so the color of the button. It really, so in terms of conversion rate and financials, it really brought a huge and unexpected impact. And I think that another example.
So what were the colors? What colors did you change from what to what?
Yeah, so I think that if I remember correctly, they were like that specific banner was for different sales campaigns.
Right.
So we tested colors like orange, green, and red, and I think that back then. The red and just like putting more showing discounts in red, like really made an unexpected difference. It was like, wow, it's really it was really interesting. But of course, like you can usually see these big differences in small UX tweaks, especially when you have high traffic. So if you really have like millions of customers, it might be that every small tweak that you do actually makes a huge difference. Where if you're in a startup and you're, as I said, just trying to find a product market fit, and you do these small changes, It might be that they don't move the needle as you expect, and you need then to do like to go and try really big changes. Yeah, and if I going back to the examples, I remember, for example, here in Germany, if a company needs to send emails, or wants to send emails, like commercial ones, the customers need to give their consent, but also in the email. So they need to give, let's say, subscribe to the newsletter consent, but also to confirm their email. Otherwise, in countries like Germany, you literally cannot send that email. And I remember that we wanted to let customers know that we sent them this confirmation email in a way that doesn't interrupt their journey and is very smooth. And what we actually realized is that people literally ignored it. So then the business metrics went down. So then we just made the banner a bit bigger, and people didn't skip it any longer. So it was, and literally the numbers went up with a massive increase. So it was just a matter of making the banner a bit bigger.
Right. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that's going back to the basic, but as you said, this
Exactly.
proves that the differences between smaller and large organizations, because if you're a small startup, I mean, this change is probably not gonna make huge impact. You have to be thinking about the bigger picture. I remember the craziness with the GDPR we were introducing it. So there are quite a lot of companies trying it the other way around. So you should tick here if you don't want to receive the emails. And instead of receiving, we remember the double consent. It was, I mean, there are quite a lot of innovative ways I saw back then for people, trying to get this consent. But so, and before I let you go, Raluca, thank you very much for your time. That was super interesting for me. I'm sure it's going to be very interesting for our listeners and viewers. Tell me the one product metric you're really obsessed with at the moment. What do you start your day with?
I would say that the metric that I really look at right now is CLV. It's customer lifetime value. And it's very important because the product features that I'm looking at, I would really want them to drive long-term engagement and loyal customers. So I'm let's say that this metric is showing you less the impact that you have on a long term, but whether you're actually bringing more sustainable customers, and you're generating more sustainable business. So that would be one that I'm looking at right now. Maybe if I would be in a startup, I would be less concerned about this one.
Am I going to exist in 1 year, right?
Exactly.
The Product Show is brought to you by Pony, a design studio helping startups and scale-ups build and optimize their digital products at speed. Check pony.studio to learn more.